Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Erlenwine, Principal of Staten Island Tech, and it's very happy to be able to welcome everyone to the Staten Island Technical High School uh, Part 2 of the Senior College Information Night meeting. This is Part 2 to the meeting that we had this past June, um, and really excited to have everyone back for the 2022-23 school year. So for all of you who are joining us tonight, in a few moments, I'll be introducing our college guidance counselor, Ms. Devine, as well as our assistant principal of college admissions and pupil personnel services, Ms. Kirschbaum, who are going to continue to unpack and review all the different things that you can expect for the college admissions process that awaits ahead. Many of you are way ahead and already deep into the process. And tonight is a night to continue to clarify what the next steps are. And of course, to ask any questions. We will be, I'm just going to post some information on the bottom of the screen. At one point this evening, you will have the opportunity to get your questions answered and ask us any questions that you may have. And we'll be sharing those at a later time, in addition to answering them live this evening. Just one really quick announcement before I turn it over to Mrs. Devine. At the bottom of the screen, I'm just sharing the link to the NICSA website. The NICSA website, for those of you who are going to hear from me tomorrow night at the PTA meeting, I urge you to please attend that just to get an update on how we're going to be communicating this year. The very least, what I'll say right now is we need all of our parents at one point, if you haven't already, to log on to the NICSA website, which I'm posting below here. And actually, let me update that. You need to update your contact information so we can stay in touch with you throughout the year by sending you text messages and emails to your correct email address and so forth. So I urge you to please join us tomorrow night for the PTA meeting where I'll be going through that in depth. And at this time, it is a pleasure to introduce Miss Ellen Devine. Hello, Ms. Devine.
Hi, welcome everyone. And as Mr. Erlenwine mentioned, I hope that you're in the thick of your application. So anything that we talk about tonight is going to be supplemental to whatever we spoke about in June. And many of you have been stopping in and asking me clarifying questions, which is perfectly fine to do, and trying to answer as much tonight as possible. So I'm just going to wait for the PowerPoint to begin, and then we will go through where I hope you are at this point in time. Okay, so I'm seeing myself but no PowerPoint. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. Okay. So first and foremost, it's important for you to keep track of the time. Already we're in mid-September and the deadlines are coming up quickly. Not so much the college deadlines, although they are looming, but the college office deadlines, which I mentioned previously. For any early applications that you may have, early decision, early action, restricted early action, any of those, we need to know that you have an intention to apply in that manner by October 3rd. So when you hear about the yellow sheet from Ms. Kirschbaum a little later on, keep that in mind. If you're applying early, then October 3rd is the time that we need to have that information. You don't need to have your application done. You just need to inform us of which schools you're applying to early. So very important. And what happens is everything is electronic, and you'll hear it later, but in the order in which you submit your list through that yellow sheet, that's the order that I write the letters of recommendation. So keep it in mind. If you do it early, then your letter is going to be on the top of the heap. Regular decision deadlines and rolling admissions, the They start around December 1st, and they can be any time. Rolling admissions go right through, sometimes through June and July. So you have to indicate to us which schools you're applying to and in what manner. And so those deadlines is October 26th for the college office, so that we can be prepared. There's a lot of things that we have to do on our ends in order to package your application for submission to the colleges. So you have your job and we have ours, and the deadlines make it much smoother for all of us. So any changes for applications with January 1st deadlines and beyond must be submitted by November 18th, the latest. So that's changes, not, submitting at all. So keep that October 26th as a hard deadline for yourself, and know that you have until the 18th to change things if you change your mind. All right, next slide. So the common application. I'm hoping that you all have at least opened it up and started looking at it, if not doing it. But you have to do that. That's a main part of this whole process. So you have to create and complete your common application. You have to sign the FERPA. The FERPA is your release of, that you're not going to be reading the letters of recommendation. So it's a privacy thing that you have waived your right to see these documents. You need to add at least 2 or 3 colleges to your Common App and then match it to Naviance. So there'll be a link there on the Common App to do that. And once you match it to Naviance, all your information is going to merge from Common App to Naviance. And that's how we're going to ultimately send your supporting documents. So very important. If you don't sign the FERPA and you don't match to Naviance, we're stuck. We can't do anything on our ends. Your teachers can't upload their letters. It really is an important part of your process. And you can always go back in and add more colleges and complete the application. But at least you want to put in a few so that you can get this started, and then all the other pieces can start coming together. So you have to make sure that you pay your fees for each college. And in order to ensure what the fee is, each college has their own fee. You have to check with their website and see how much is the fee. Make sure that you pay it appropriately. If if you have fee waivers or you're hoping for fee waivers, you need to make sure that you take care of all that's associated with that. So most colleges on the Common App will have at least one supplemental to their application above and beyond the Common App essay. So make sure that you complete whatever they're asking for. Otherwise, it's going to hold up your whole application because it's going to be considered incomplete, and they'll be waiting for those supplements to come in. So I'm hoping that some of this was done over the summer, or you're doing it now. It's not the kind of thing, even if you're applying regular decision, that you should really wait on. You're in your senior year, and this is also going to be a year that is scrutinized by the colleges down the road. So you have to do well. You have to do your college applications. It's a lot. So this is why in June I encouraged you to start this over the summer if at all possible, so that you could have, a little more leisure in doing this rather than rushing to get it done. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. If you are applying to schools, and there are a few that do not participate in the Common App, then you are responsible for following whatever their process is. Some of them have such as the University of California, Georgetown, MIT, that you have to apply directly through their application. And there is a very specific process. You need to include who is going to be writing your letters of recommendation, so that they will generate, the colleges will generate an email that will be sent to alert whoever is writing, teachers or your counselor or myself, that we have something that we have to do to complete your application. and it's fairly extensive. It'll be extensive on your end. It's extensive on our end. So the sooner that we have that information, we start working on it. So be mindful of that. Make sure that you pay the fees or request a fee waiver. And there is a possibility, because the fee waivers are limited in number that you can have, that we have available to offer you. But you can also, if you've used the fee waivers that you were given from us or from the from the college board, then you can request a fee waiver from the college and see whether or not they will offer you one. And then, of course, enter the colleges on your Naviance account once you've matched them. Okay, next. Next slide. Okay. All right. So the CUNY application is separate. It's not, it's a non-Common App application, so it's a direct application. Any of you who have taken College Now classes already have a CUNY First account, so you can access things through that. Otherwise, you're going to have to create one, start the application and create a CUNY First. So they've changed a lot, especially in regards to the Macaulay end of things through CUNY, and we're going to have a meeting in October for you guys, where they're going to come in and explain all the specifics, the new changes and all that. So I'm going to kind of go light on that because I'm not 100% sure exactly what they've changed. I know that the deadline is earlier. It was earlier last year though too. So I think there are a number of things to just be mindful of as you go along. So let me see. So you start if you're applying to City University, which I really encourage all of you to do. It's really economically the best deal in town. All the universities in the system offer excellent education. And for one application, you can apply to 6 different schools. So that's highly unusual. Usually you're paying per school. So that's a good thing. So because you're in the DOE, if you provide your OSIS number on your application, they will directly retrieve your transcripts to add to your application because they are also part of the city system and they have that access. But you have to put in your OSIS number for that to happen. If you've taken college courses, you'll have the ability to report that coursework and self-report AP test scores. Students will be able to self-report standardized test scores on the application and continue to send them using, well, this is only going to be in regards to Macaulay because CUNY itself has gone test blind. So they're not asking for them or it's not optional, it's that they're blind to them. So submitting it only has to do with Macaulay. So, all right, information regarding fee waivers and application deadlines to Macaulay. Again, they're going to be coming in October 17th. Make sure that you check the calendar of the college office visits because we are packed solid. We have over 70 visits that will be coming in from the end of September through October. So it's going to be jam-packed. And make sure that you sign up and participate in those so you get the latest information. As I said, there have been many changes to the Macaulay application, and so they will be doing that presentation to give you the 2023 information. All right, we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so test optional continues for many schools. You'll have to really check to make sure. MIT absolutely is not test optional any longer. There are a few scattered schools that have gone back to requiring the SAT or the ACT. So you're going to have to check especially in those highly competitive schools. But many, the majority, are remaining test optional. So anytime I speak to anyone about, I've taken the SAT, should I submit it? I always say the same thing, that you should check the colleges that you're interested in submitting it to and see what their range is. They always have a low, a mid, and a high range of SATs that they traditionally have accepted students with. If you are in the high end, or at least the mid-range and higher, then absolutely, if you feel confident, submit it. Otherwise, it's best to just let it go. If it's test optional and it's a low score, then just move on. They're really putting much more attention on the transcripts and the rigor of the classes, the activities you're involved in, all the things that we talk about constantly. It's not just, it never was just the test score, but certainly now with this test optional, more important are these other pieces. Your writings, the letters of recommendation from your teachers, from your counselor, all plays a part. They want to know about your character, or they want to know how you spend your time, what is interesting to you, that type of thing. So don't get too lost in trying to achieve some particular score on a standardized test that is optional for one, when you should also be paying attention to the classes you're taking right now, writing your Common App essay if you have not completed it, and working on those supplements so that they are high quality. Much more important than too much attention on the standardized tests. Okay, we'll move on. Next slide, please. Okay. So anyone who received a fee waiver for the SAT, well, if you look on your College Board account and you haven't already used them, you will see that there is at least two, there should be two fee waivers available to you, unless you used them, and then they're not going to be there. If you used it, okay, so on the Common App, you'll be asked whether your financial circumstances will qualify you for fee waivers for the Common application. So the way that that's determined on our end is the lunch form. So every year, the lunch form is important every year, but most especially senior year, because it will be the deciding factor whether or not you're eligible for fee waivers for those applications. So if you are, then I will check off that you qualify, and your application fees will be waived on the Common App, which is lovely. But please keep in mind that just because it's not costing you anything monetarily does not mean that it's not going to cost you something in time and effort. So there is not really a strong reason for going over 20 applications, which is what the Common App allows. There's only 20 spaces. 20 is a lot. Consider that you have to write something unique and targeted towards each of those schools. It's an awful lot of work, and you're in school. So really think about safety, target, and reach, as we have discussed multiple times, and make it reasonable for yourself. Because at the end of the day, when we send your transcript in January to colleges so they see how you've been doing senior year, it's going to matter. So you don't want to waste your time. It's very precious. It's the most precious commodity that you have to offer. So use it wisely, and make sure that you are just really mindful of all the different aspects of the application process. Okay. Anything that is specific to a college, not everything is the same for every college, as I'm sure you are finding as you go along. So you have to really stay on track with which school is requiring particular information. And if you do decide to self-report your SAT scores, understand that at some point, if you're accepted, you have to send a report. So it's not enough to just self-report. eventually you're going to have to send that report, the report from College Board directly to the college that you've been accepted to. Okay? And those lunch forms, please do them. All right, next slide, please. Okay. So this is like the nitty-gritty of how to do this with the matching of the Common App to Naviance. And as I said earlier, if you do not do this part of the application, we will never be able to send any documents for you anywhere. Try as we might. So you have to, when you're on the Common App, you'll see Apply Now, complete those steps that are indicated, the Educational tab, at least one or more colleges, sign the FERPA, which indicates your waiving of your rights to see the letters of recommendation. Then on Naviance, go to the colleges I'm applying to tab, click the Match Account button, enter your email, date of birth, click Match Now. All right, so it's a simple process. This PowerPoint is going to end up in the classroom, which sometimes I hear is not utilized as much as I would hope. Lots of great information there, and you can always access not only this the PowerPoint, but the whole presentation tonight, and go through, and anything that you're confused about, you'll see. And of course, Miss Donna and Miss Tana are always more than willing to help you. But it's fairly simple. If you just follow the directions, then it's not really that difficult to do. So, but important because it allows us, as I said, to send your documents. Next slide, please. Okay, so financial aid, have a meeting on the 22nd of September. Please attend. This is a must-do, and because of it's less complicated than it has been, but it is a complicated process. So you want to get to it, and that's where you're going to determine your eligibility. A lot of colleges have been announcing that they are meeting 100% of demonstrated need for every student. So that means that they're taking the information from your FAFSA, and if it's a private school, also the CSS profile, all into consideration, and doing their best to, well, they say they will meet the demonstrated need. So if you don't do it, then there's no way for them to offer you anything. So a lot of times students will say, oh, I'm not going to qualify, I'm not going to do it. But, it's a form that you're going to be asked to do every year. So once you set it up, and now is really, although it's complicated, once you set it up, it saves the majority of your information. And now you're just, each year you go in and do it, you're just updating it. You're not recreating the wheel. And you don't really know. Things have changed. There's, a lot on the, in the headlines about college costs above and beyond, what they're saying the forgiveness will be. Just the idea that, I don't know why people are surprised. I guess if you don't have a student in college, you might not realize how very expensive it has become to get a college education if you're going to a private school, which is back to, SUNY and CUNY really being wonderful in that aspect, that it's much more affordable. And you guys are all bright, so wherever you go, you're going to do fabulous. So anyway, I'm off track. So the FAFSA opens up October 1st, and that's something that you can, sooner than later get it done. And again, you want to take care of these things, because if you put it off, you might forget about doing it, and then you're scrambling and all that kind of thing. So the sooner you get it done, the better it is for you. And if you're considering private school, which I know many of you are, the CSS profile is going to be something that you are required to fill out as well. And it's much more comprehensive than the FAFSA. FAFSA in comparison is asking for an overview, and not as much prove this to us kind of a thing. Like you don't have to have a letter from a parent or that kind of thing if they are not in the picture. But with CSS profile, those are the kind of possibilities depending on your circumstances. So with any of this, please attend the meeting first of all. But if you have a question, come to the college office and ask us, because that's what we're doing. Sometimes there's misinformation or maybe information that's changed. If you're asking your friends or, an older sibling or cousin or friends, things change quickly. So it's always best, just come in, ask the questions, we'll help you, get you the information. And again, that's the purpose. Administrative things, Miss Donna and Miss Tana are wonderful. And for the details of the ins and outs of how to apply and what you should be doing and that, I'm certainly more than willing to chat with any of you. And I appreciate those of you who have been already coming in and emailing and asking questions. It's very important. They always say the only bad question is the one that you kept it to yourself, that you never asked. So please make sure that you do that and attend that meeting. And again, we're doing it all virtually. So that means it's going to sit available to you in that classroom. The Google Classroom really should be a tool that you're using, not only for this information to access it when you need it, but I've been putting a lot of wonderful college opportunities and all kinds of information. I hope some of you have taken advantage of the college essay guy as well, because he does a wonderful job helping students with their navigating through their personal statements and their Common App essays and even supplementals. Really wonderful. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so this is now it's getting repetitive. It's interesting. I reviewed this so many times and it looked wonderful. And now I see how it is repetitive, but it bears repeating. So again, in order for us to submit your documents, you have to match the Common App to Naviance. So here are the steps once again. And, please, maybe if I say it 3 times, it'll be magic and you'll actually embed it in your memory banks and find it easy to do when you go, oh, that's what she said. Go on the Common App, apply now, complete, onto Naviance, colleges I'm applying to, and click the match, add your date of birth and email. Be mindful of the email you use. I think that we talked about that at the last meeting, because you want to be consistent for one, and you want to have some longevity. So the college is going to contact you through that email that you give them. So if you use a school email that once you're out, you're not really paying attention to that anymore, it's probably not a good idea. So I usually suggest students create an email account strictly for the purpose of college applications. So you know that everything that comes in there has to do with college. So before you enter your email in this colleges I'm applying to tab, make sure that that's the one that you're going to use consistently. All right. Next slide, please. Okay. So this isn't what I was speaking about earlier, that we have schedules. Well, I didn't do it. Ms. Tana is the queen of scheduling the college rep visits. So many of them are going to be in person. Some of them are, still going to be virtual. But there's a whole calendar and you can access it through Naviance. And you'll see all the schools that are coming, when they're coming, where they're going to be. Some of them will be in 139. Some of them will, if they're larger, they'll be in classrooms or the library. So all that information is on the calendar. And you have to register in order to attend. It's not that you can just tell your teacher, oh, I'm going to go to this college visit. You have to register through Naviance. And again, exactly as it says here, go to the colleges tab in your account, select the college visit you wish to attend, click register, print out the pass, and then it's up to you. If it's during a class, which it might be, you can ask permission of your teacher if you can attend. If not, you have to respect what your teacher says. Class is way important senior year. Okay, so they have the discretion. And I would say in our school, teachers are very generous in regards to allowing students to make these visits, but just be, again, just as you're not going to apply to a million schools, you don't have to visit, attend the 70 of the visits that we're going to have. So pick out those that you're really interested in and you want to ask more probing questions. Think of what questions you want to ask before you come, but make sure that you register, print out the pass, and let your teachers know, or ask the teachers if it's okay. All right, next slide. Okay. So make sure that you have a solid understanding of any changes that your particular college has made. Submit your applications with enough time before the due date. I know if it's November 1st, for example, for early, does not mean that you have to wait until 11:59 on October 31st to submit your application because you want to make sure it's perfect. You never know if the system crashes. You're gonna be very anxious and upset that your application did not go through on time. So if your application is complete and your essay is complete, sometimes you just have to push the button. And last year we had many students come in and say, I'm too nervous to press the button. And they opened up their application in the college office and we said, press send. And they did, and lived to see the next day. So it's really important not to wait till the last minute, to give yourself enough time so that you're not scrambling to get things done. All right, so prepare to file the FAFSA and the CSS profile as of October 1st. We're having our meeting before that. We're having it the 22nd. So you're going to have all that information fresh in your minds so that October 1st you can open it up and get right to it. I don't want to give you FAFSA information now. You'll get that next week. Any changes that you make to your list of colleges, everything is going to be done through the electronic form. We're not doing paper anymore. Everything is electronic so that it's time stamped and we can see the day and the exact time that you made the request to either add or delete a particular choice. And that's the way that you're going to communicate with us. So don't think that just changing it on your own is going to do it. You have to inform us. And how you inform us is through that resubmission of the yellow sheet. Okay. Submit the colleges I'm applying to checklist electronically by the due date. And again, I gave those earlier depending on if you're doing early decision, early action, or restrictive early action. That due date is October 3rd. If you're doing regular decision, the due date is October 26th. So you can make changes once you submit, but those are the hard deadlines to submit. Okay. And of course, as always, keep up and improve your grades. I sent, on the classroom, there is a do's and don'ts of senior year. So it includes keeping up with your classes and your grades, maintaining your GPA or improving it. Be mindful of senioritis. I've seen even the most dedicated students at some point during senior year just sink into the abyss of senioritis. And it's never a good thing, because when you wake up from that and you realize that you cannot change the passage of time, it can be stress provoking. So just, not that you shouldn't enjoy senior year, there's lots of fun things going on, and absolutely do that. But make sure that you also fulfill your obligations with your classes, turn in your work on time, do quality work. Understand that until you finish and graduate, and we send that final transcript in June, and the colleges review it, it's still up for debate whether or not you're going there. So it matters right to the bitter end. It's not just, you're done as a junior and senior year is not a concern. It absolutely is, could be a deciding factor. Either way, if you're on the cusp and you do extraordinarily well, you'll get someone's attention perhaps, and that will, maybe get you off a wait list, or just get you higher up in the interest of that particular school. And if your grades drop precipitously, it could end up that you're either denied your seat, or you are on academic probation, neither of which is very pleasant. So just continue the great work you've been doing all along. You've worked really hard. It's not the time to stop the race now. And be very, very careful of what you post on social media. It has long-lasting and potentially devastating effects. So not even, well, right now we're talking about college, but down the road for jobs and all your future endeavors, somebody's going to be pulling up something that you put up that maybe you wished when you're 30 you didn't do it. So think of that in a mindset of, will I still be okay with this when I'm older? Sometimes that perspective is very different than what you think is so important right now. Do not procrastinate. Contrary to popular opinion, procrastination does not hone your thinking and make you a better writer, better test taker, better anything. It raises the stress levels and increases anxiety to the point where you can become paralyzed. And I don't mean physically paralyzed, but mentally paralyzed, where you cannot get anything done, or you're second guessing yourself all along the way. If you allow yourself enough time to accomplish something in a reasonable manner, you'll be more confident and you'll do a better job of it. Okay, keep your eyes open for deadlines for scholarships. Scholarships are posted all over the place too. We have a scholarship site that we're updating, but I will be sending out as they come to me through Naviance all kinds of scholarship opportunities. Some of them, if they're particularly, I think applicable to many people, I'll put it in the classroom. I am always telling students, if you haven't already signed up with Going Merry, it's a free scholarship site. They will send you have to look, but they will send you quite regularly updates on scholarships that fit your profile. So I know a lot of you have already signed up with them, so you know that there's just so many scholarships out there, and they're going to be sending you those ones that match you. So it's the more places that you have to go to look for this information, the better it is for you. So the other one is Raise Me, which is as also a free site where you input all your information from freshman year. So all your grades, if you took an SAT, a PSAT, we haven't really had regions that, I don't know that you guys have taken any regions, or maybe very few. But all those kind of things can earn you what they call micro scholarships. And although it's not applicable to every college, there's over 180 colleges that do accept Raise Me, and Northeastern being one of them. I know a lot of you are in love with that school. So it's worth doing. It doesn't cost you anything, a little bit of time to put it all in there. Right now you're focusing on applying, and then you need to put some time into and how will we pay for this. So the scholarships are very important. Also be mindful if your college has a honors program that you're interested in. Does that have a special deadline different than their regular application? Is it a separate application or is it consideration automatic? So again, the schools that you're most interested in, make sure you know all this information, so that you don't, at the last minute realize, oh, I could have qualified for this and I didn't even know. It's a lot of work we're asking you to do, which is why we started asking you to do it 6 months ago. And actually, some students are very proactive and have been at this longer than that. Maybe because they had older siblings that kind of said there's a lot of work here, so get going. But the last thing I will say is that communication with the college office is crucial. You can come by, you can make an appointment, you can email. It's a little challenging for me to have parent meetings right now, but I will always make time for the students because we can do that pretty easily. That's a little more complicated with making time for parents. But you have to get used to making your own decisions, and so come in and ask questions as they come up. All right, good luck with the process. Try to enjoy the journey. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kirschbaum. Are we going to answer questions now, or are we going to let her do her presentation first?
Hi, Ms. Kirschbaum. We'll take a couple of questions that are aligned to the presentation you just gave, and then we'll take more questions of Ms. Kirschbaum.
Okay. So I can't see any of them.
See that?
So the merit scholarships are going to be associated with a particular college. There are not, other than national merit, which is already, the students who qualify for that have already been notified, and we're in process of doing those applications. But basically the colleges themselves, they will offer merit scholarships and need-based scholarships. So it's not something that you're going to particularly apply to unless, as I said, there is a special scholarship for a particular school that you are going to. Usually it'll be part of the package, but there are some schools that have a separate application for a merit scholarship, especially if they're going to offer you a full ride. So the quick answer to this next one, do we need to create a common application if we only plan to apply to CUNY, is no, technically you do not. But if you change your mind, now you're going to be scrambling. It's not so very difficult to do. So I think, just to be open-minded about, that there may be a change of heart at some point. It's certainly up to you whether or not you do so. So fee waivers are determined. We haven't gotten the results of the lunch forms yet because I think the link probably only went out. I mean, we're only back to school very shortly. So once those lunch forms start coming back in their process, we'll have a list of who is eligible for fee waivers, and then they would be through the college office.
As a matter of fact, I've been scrolling the website that our parents can go to update that information and make sure they are entitled to and get that fee waiver based upon the lunch form status. So that's currently scrolling at the bottom of the screen for everybody to see and utilize.
All right. Thank you. So it's on Naviance. And you'll see college visits, and you'll click on, and there'll be the calendar. It's pretty self-explanatory. So the CUNY application, if it's not Macaulay or Sophie Davis or Brooklyn BAMD, is I think it's February 1st, or it might even be March. It's late, but it's those Macaulay's, the specialized CUNYs that are early, and that's November 16th. No, it's not a private school. There's 326 students. It's an impossibility. I'm the only college counselor in the school. So I meet with students that come in or request, but it's impossible to meet with. I met with all the current seniors when they were juniors to talk about all this, but it's impossible. So no, we won't be meeting, advising them.
And just to add to that, that answer, Ms. Devine, I mean, that's the purpose of the college office and the extensive team that we have to help navigate the process and answer these questions. So it's really on an as needed basis. As you need support, as you have questions, you come to room 139, and you also have Ms. Kirschbaum as well to provide that support. So we encourage our students to be very active and proactive and visit that office. The office is big enough. It has a seating space for students to sit, ask questions, and do some of that process while they're there. So take advantage of it. That's why we created it and moved it to a location in the building that was near the guidance counselors.
Okay. All right, so.
Wait. Hi, everyone. This is Ms. Kirschbaum here. Thank you, Ms. Devine, for all that information. I noticed that some of the questions lead me to believe that we need to become more acclimated with the college office Google Classroom. This Google Classroom is specifically made for the class of 2023. This also came out of the time when we were remote or semi-remote due to COVID. We needed a way for students to be able to ascertain information and submit information to us remotely, digitally, so the college application process would not be disrupted in any way. We found that keeping this digital Google Classroom, even though we are in person and students are always welcome to come to the college office, is beneficial as a one-stop shop for where you can get all the information you need. So one of the students asked, how do we communicate to the college office which colleges we intend to apply to so that the college office knows where to send our supporting documents and when, based upon our application type? So I'm going to introduce you, or just kind of go through very quickly, the Google Classroom that every senior was already pre-populated into. So every senior has access to it. You don't need to be invited. You were all pre-put into the classroom. Ms. Devine, can you just tell me if you see me moving around on here? So in classwork, do you see the change, Ms. Devine? Ms. Devine? Okay. Let me see if Ms. Devine's there. Ms. Devine, do you hear me?
I'm here, but you are breaking up very badly.
Oh, okay. So it is moving. Okay, excellent. I see it's moving. Okay. So in the classwork tab of the Google Classroom for the college office, you will see that this is going to post tomorrow. The reason why it posts tomorrow is because I'm going to go over the form with you tonight. Once it posts tomorrow, students are able to ascertain the form and complete it digitally and submit it to the college office. So the directions are as follows. The form must be completed by every 12th grade student. The form is to mirror exactly what is listed on your Naviance College page. So there's no way for us to know if you delete or add a college on the Naviance page. It doesn't prompt us in any sense of the word. It's going to be the college office Google Classroom and the different apparatuses we put on this classroom to communicate that with us. So the decisions are there to remind you, and it also gives you step-by-step directions on how to submit this form. Okay, very much in detail. So opening up the form, just to give you a little see, it's pretty cut and dry. It requires a student's name. It asks for certain information. This is just for the college office to write down exactly when you sent us the form, if you're eligible for fee waivers. And this is where you're going to list the colleges you're applying to, whether it's you're applying via Common App, school specific, what type, early decision 2, early action. What is the college deadline? Is there a specific scholarship attached to the college? What's that deadline? Here is where you're going to list your recommending teachers. Those are the teachers that are going to be writing your letters of recommendation. We ask for it to be in priority order. The reason why we ask that is because some colleges only want one letter of recommendation. So we want to make sure that we're sending the first priority letter that you want to be sent. Over here, again, college office only information. We fill that out. And then there's more room for you to fill out additional colleges. If you look at this section right here, this is our timeline. We pretty much date when we send everything out to the college. Another thing you should look at is, I'm going to go back. Make sure you pay attention to these directions because this is going to show you how you could actually type right onto the Google form and submit it. So now that we're here, what I want you to look at more is on the left-hand side, there's tons of information that Miss Hannah and Miss Donna and Miss Devine continue to update the classroom. So this is going to be a spot where you should be visiting every day to look at. You have college office forms. This is where you could request transcripts and supporting documents that you might need for any type of programs or special scholarships that require a transcript. Here is college office events. This is listed all the different events that we are holding or hosting or have hosted. General information, do's and don'ts for senior year. Opportunities and workshops. College information. Different scholarships. Okay. And always the stream to look at. But this is where you're going to see the different schools too. So for example, Bucknell University Visit Program. All different types of opportunities to visit different colleges. When the colleges come to our school, that's really for the juniors because they're trying to figure out what colleges they want to go to. At this point in time, you should have a pretty firmed up list of what colleges you have decided that you're going to apply to. A lot of that was discovered over the summer, as well as your one-to-one junior interview with Miss Devine. So I just ask that you become acquainted with this. It's very, very helpful. Okay, and let me just get out of there. So that's where you're going to find the yellow sheet. That's where you're going to submit your college choices by the due dates, the college office due dates. Now remember, as Miss Devine said, you're responsible for your application. You are responsible for any essays that you have to submit. You're responsible for any fees and the due dates for them. We are responsible for sending supporting documentation. Supporting documentation is the documents that come from the school, meaning your transcripts, your letters of recommendation, any type of other information that needs, I think that's it, right? Transcripts, letters of recommendation, the school's letter of recommendation on behalf of you. So this is where we need to know where we're sending those items. Okay, let me get out of here. Okay, Ms. Devine, any last words?
Yeah, I was remembering something Miss Hannah asked me to say. When you're on the Common App, it asks you for recommenders. That is only for outside recommenders. The teachers you're requesting are through Naviance. So please don't use that Common App recommender tab for teachers. All right. And don't think that you're going to do an outside recommender through Naviance. So just to clarify that. Parents don't have access to the Google Classroom. Not directly. I mean, your child can share it with you. So a recommendation from someone outside, as I just said, would be through Common App. And you fill that out and you have to supply their email address so that they can, Common App can send them a link to upload their letter for you, but only from somebody outside and only one. It's the College Now classes are credit awarded directly by the college because you don't get, you can't get both college credit and high school credit. So you'll notice that doesn't impact your transcript grade, any of your College Now classes, because you're getting your credit at the college. It's up to you whether you use the NYC student email. I would suggest that you create a separate email because you're not going to be a New York City student forever. And at some point, probably June 30th, you'll stop looking at that account. So the colleges still will need to be able to get in touch with you until you establish an account with them. So I just would suggest that you use a separate, and even for scholarships, a separate email.
Thank you, Mr. Devine. I think we addressed most of the questions for tonight. And of course, I've been sharing the contact information if parents have any other further questions. Throughout the evening, I've been posting on the bottom, as I promised, the information for the NICSA website. Tomorrow morning, I'll be sending out very detailed instructions for all families. Once again, how to update your contact information. When I say contact information, I mean the cell phone number that you would wish to be text messaged to or receive a phone call to in case we send out a text message communication or a robocall. The Department of Education has overhauled their entire communication system. So most of the communication systems we've been relying on that you're familiar with in the past do not exist anymore. So as we're integrating and getting used to using these new systems, the NICSA website, the www.schools.account.nyc website is one of the many ways, in addition to Navient, that will be remaining in contact with our families. I just want to make sure that everyone is staying connected. We're utilizing all the tools that we currently have and the new ones that the Department of Ed are instituting. We're in the process, like all schools are right now, of figuring out how they work because they're brand new. There wasn't a pilot or a beta phase in which they were able to test some of it. So a lot of these tools are being used for the first time by all. So we're kind of testing it out for the system. But so far, for those of you who've been receiving messages from me, if you know who you are. Those who haven't, the instructions that I will be sending tomorrow morning, in addition to the website that you're seeing scrolling across your screen right now, is how you want to begin the process of updating that information. And I'll be sending a detailed step-by-step instructions on how to do that. I can see by doing it for my own child, the navigation could be a little bit tricky, not so obvious where to find where you update your contact information. But we're going to make that clear and share that information as soon as tomorrow. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. I want to thank Mr. Devine and Ms. Kirschbaum for putting this presentation together. And I urge our students to stop by room 139 and take advantage of all the resources that you have in our building to navigate this process together. Have a wonderful night, and I hope to see you all tomorrow night at the PTA meeting. We start at 7 p.m. All the links to those meetings have been shared on social media and are on our school's landing page. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Erlenmeyer.